Next on BYUSN, the Mount Rushmore of BYU football wide receivers.
Does it include Puka Nacua or a certain 6'6", very good wide receiver from Oregon?
The elite one you speak of?
Very good.
Welcome to BYU Sports Nation, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. Happy Tuesday, November 22nd. I am Spencer Linton, alongside my fellow hoodie-wearing friend, Jarom Jordan.
It's hoodie weather outside,
yes, it is.
Which is my favorite time of year. By the way, 21-year anniversary of Creed's halftime performance at the Dallas Cowboys game, so celebrate accordingly.
We should lead the show with that, right?
That was one of the greatest moments ever, said no one. On today's show, David Nixon on the Stanford game. David's going to be out there for Thanksgiving, so hey, put him on game day. Let's go. Women's volleyball, massive senior night matchup with number 2 San Diego tonight. A lot riding on that match. More on that later. Fred Warner clocks in against the Cardinals on Monday Night Football in Mexico City. And Robert Saleh's commitment level with Zach Wilson at the moment. But first, today's headlines.
BYU football, we're on to Stanford. Full attention on the Cardinal for the Cougars' final game of the 2022 regular season. Offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick kind enough to share a scouting report of the Cardinal defense yesterday on Coordinator's Corner.
They are a physical team. They like to. They're what you'd expect with Stanford. They're smart guys that do everything right. They're where they're supposed to be. They fit the runs the way they're supposed to fit. They're where they're supposed to be in coverage. I think they've had some injuries this year, and they're a little bit beat up, but they're still competing really hard, and they have great length. There's no short guys on that defense. They've got length at every position.
BYU 0-2 all-time against Stanford. This will mark just the third game the teams have played against each other. Kickoff set for Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern.
Fred Warner had 6 tackles, a sack, and 2 TFLs in a 38-10 Niners win over the Cardinals on Monday Night Football in Estadio Azteca in Mexico City.
New York Jets head coach Robert Saleh non-committal on Zach Wilson's status to start this weekend against the Chicago Bears. Has nothing to do with injury, just if Wilson is the guy. Following a 10-3 loss against the New England Patriots, in which Wilson completed 9 of 22 pass attempts for just 77 yards, minus 21 passing yards in the second half.
Yeah, it got lit up in the media quite a bit yesterday. Women's volleyball moves down a spot from 17 to 18, plays number 2 San Diego tonight, 10 Eastern on ESPNU. It's the regular season finale and senior night in Provo.
Over the weekend, 7 BYU men's swimmers recorded national times. Javier Nicholas had a program record-breaking swim in the 100 butterfly with a time of 46.4 seconds. That puts him 29th in the country right now. Mackenzie Miller was the only BYU woman to swim a national time at the Missouri Invite. All rise and shout. It is time for What's Trending.
Puka Nacua may go all the way.
What's Trending, presented by Bodyguards, protection for a life worth living. Learn more at bodyguards.com. Without question, Puka Nacua, a very special player, an NFL talent. We are looking at his career numbers today and projecting what we think he's going to do over the next 2 games and maybe next year, as we discuss the Mount Rushmore of BYU football wide receivers. Jarom, what does Puka Nacua need to do in the final 2 games against Stanford and a bowl game to be included in BYU's wide receiver Mount Rushmore?
Look, Puka's awesome. I'll get to that in a second. But in terms of who's on the Mount Rushmore, he's not on it for me. And a lot of that has to do with, not being here for 3 or 4 years. Obviously went to Washington, eventually comes around to BYU, which is awesome. Not being healthy. And, I'm awarding my Mount Rushmore award sustainability.
Ah, yes.
3+ years here. Doing it over time.
Not being injured?
Singular seasons, yeah, whether that's up to you or not, it's part of the conversation, right? Sometimes it happens to you. Sometimes you get hurt or whatever.
Yeah.
Puka's awesome. Well, let's just attack Puka right now. He's got 7 100-yard games in 2 years receiving. That's awesome. The 75-yard play to open the season on offense, incredible. We'll remember that for a long time. Boise State catch, we're going to remember that forever. That was an incredible catch and a huge win this season. 15 total touchdowns in 20 games. That's a fantastic ratio, right? He might be in the playmaker Mount Rushmore at receiver for BYU.
Sure.
Overall, Playmaking, Glenn Kozlowski, Reno Mahe, Cody Hoffman, like Austin Collie.
Mitch Matthews against Nebraska.
Mitch against Nebraska in that particular game. Unbelievable play, right? Last 20 years, he's one of the top 4, I would say. Overall, historically, I don't put him in the top 4, and there's nothing he can do in the last 2 games. Now, if he comes back next year and he's here for 3 years, now he's got a chance perhaps to crack it.
Yes.
But probably not. Yeah, probably not, which I'll get to my Mount Rushmore in a moment.
He's on the Independence era Mount Rushmore of BYU football.
Yeah, that's not a thing we're doing, but I guess we are right now. Yeah.
We could qualify it
Of
there.
receivers?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, with Cody Hoffman and Mitch Matthews.
I spent all my time this morning thinking about all time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I say that in jest as we look at BYU winding down in the Independence era.
Yeah.
But Puka Nacua, even if he has all-world performances against Stanford and comes down with a huge game-winning catch again against Stanford and does something special in the bowl game, there's just not enough material there to earn a spot on BYU's all-time Mount Rushmore of wide receivers. You just have to have 3 to 4 years of playing consistently.
By the way, I had an AirPod in the whole time and no one told me.
It's okay. I thought you
I was watching the World Cup and I forgot.
I thought you had your AirPod in because you wanted to multitask.
That's my bad.
Which is totally fine.
Hold on, yeah, go ahead and make that deal. What in the world am I doing?
No, this is what you do. What people don't know is you have your AirPod in. When I start to answer, you just turn on some music so you don't have to listen to me.
It's noise canceling. I'm like, just tell me in my right ear, which has an earpiece, and oh my gosh.
You're going to listen to my opinion whether you like it or not.
What in the world did I just do?
No, there's nothing that Puka Nacua can do in 2 games to ascend to the Mount Rushmore of BYU football wide receivers. We need more. If he decides to come back for another year and throws down a 1,300-plus year
maybe
with 10-plus touchdowns, then he's in the conversation. I don't even know that would put him there.
It still doesn't.
But now he's a top 10 receiver and making his way up those ranks. But it's okay. It's okay. Puka Nacua can be an unbelievable playmaker, and when it comes to like the ability to make a big catch, he can be like one of the best in that regard.
That's why I put him on the playmaking Mount Rushmore.
But if we're talking about like career numbers,
just didn't do enough.
Just not enough time, and he was injured for a good deal of this season, had to miss a handful of games.
And that's part of the conversation. That's a tricky, slippery slope. If you're like, well, if they were healthy, it's like, well, if Taysom Hill is healthy the whole time, are you saying he's on par with like McMahon, Detmer Young? Because I'm not. Like, he maybe enters the B conversation. Hill, to me, is like in the C conversation among that group of quarterbacks.
That's how good the quarterbacks have been.
But he's not even in the B, right? Zach Wilson entered the B level with that 2020 season.
Puka Nacua would need to be an All-American next year to now move toward the conversation. He would need to have an Austin Collie junior season type year.
He's great
to go there,
but hasn't done enough. Okay, you ready for the Mount Rushmore?
All right, give me your Mount Rushmore.
Okay, it depends what you value in this conversation. Okay, career, single season, what role does health play, playmaking, ability, athleticism, yards, catches, touchdowns? I did the latter. Like if you put it up over several years, that's high in my book. So I picked the only 4 guys that are top 10 in yards, catches, and touchdowns.
I know. Oh, I'm glad you're gonna go with somebody that deserves it.
Austin, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Austin Collie is the greatest receiver in BYU history, no questions asked. He did what he did in 3 seasons.
3 years.
Cody Hoffman's #1 in all 3 of those categories. He's #2 all time. Eric Drage is right there as well. And Phil Odle. You may not have heard of Phil Odle, but for 35 years he owned all the records. 25 years. He owned all the records till Matt Bellini showed up and helped smash some of those, and then those kept getting broken. Honorable mention, Margin Hooks, Matt Bellini, Mark Bellini, Mitch Matthews, Glenn Kozlowski. Puka's in that conversation. Those 4 guys are the guys. The top 2 are clearly there. Eric Drage, clearly there. And then Phil Odle led BYU in all those categories. 5'11", 190, just did tremendous work in the 60s with Virgil Carter. And after Virgil for a year. Phil Odle, you may not have heard of him, but on this program, we remember those guys like Mel Hutchins and Roland Minson and everybody from every era. We try to honor the legacy of those guys. Like Bill Russell isn't a lesser player in the NBA history.
Certainly not.
He is right there, even though it was in the 60s, right?
He did what he did in 3 seasons. 65, 66, 67.
The original Austin Collie.
Exactly.
Phil Odle.
That's exactly right. And in an era where college football was dominated by the run game, and this was pre-Lavelle Edwards and his pass-happy attack when he took over as the head coach in the early 70s. Yeah. This was 5 to 7 years before that. Phil Odle broke some barriers at BYU in the receiving category, got drafted by the Detroit Lions, played in Detroit for 3 years, and he was BYU's first great receiver. He deserves to be on Mount Rushmore. In fact, I had him third and Eric Drage fourth. I mean, we're, splitting hairs.
So you have the same four?
Same four.
Oh,
Austin Collie,
okay.
Cody Hoffman, Phil Odle, number 3, and Eric Drage at number 4. It was Eric Drage who finally broke most of Phil Odle's records at BYU. When you do what you did in 3 years from 65 to 67, come on.
Freshmen couldn't play in the NCAA for
Phil Odle made our top 100 BYU football play show a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah. We tried to get Phil in the show.
He deserves to be there.
We respect Phil that much.
I had a hard time deciding who I would make the 5th. I'm like, who's the first guy off the mountain? Because that's where it gets really, really interesting.
I have a name.
Margin Hooks, maybe?
Margin Hooks. Here's why. He is 5th in catches and yards in BYU history.
He wasn't a big touchdown guy. He had 14 career touchdowns.
He's 20th in BYU history.
Yeah, and Phil Odle had 24 touchdowns in his 3 seasons.
Machine.
Right? So
Virgil's main target.
All of the guys on Mount Rushmore, again, were so complete and had full careers of either 3 to 4 years. Austin Collie's the clear number 1. And that's taking nothing away from Cody Hoffman and Drage and Phil Odle. Austin Collie was a special, special player.
If he comes back another year, no one touches that maybe ever. Like maybe ever.
He had over 1,500 yards receiving his junior season.
Yeah, he was awesome.
That is unbelievable.
He was great.
So I really had a good time looking back on the history and the numbers. When you get down to like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that gets fun. And it just made me think, like, we need to do top 10 shows for all of the individual positions over the summer. We need to do it with running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, linebackers. We need to do this.
Let's not do it with kickers and punchers, but yeah. Yeah, and so, listen, if Puka had been here 4 years and he had put up numbers and been healthy,
all-timer,
he could have cracked that. But it takes a lot. Like, you've got to be awesome. By the way, there are more great tight ends here than receivers. This school has had tremendous tight ends. Like, when you look at a lot of those numbers,
the receiving category,
it's a lot of Dennis Pitta, although we don't have time for him today. It's a lot of Chris Smith. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of Gordon Hudson. All these guys. Like
Clay Brown.
Like, Clay Brown might be the best of them. Like, Gordon Hudson, probably the best. But, like, unbelievable stuff from these guys. I would argue the tight ends have been a stronger position group historically at the top than the receivers here. And typically you only have one on the field.
That's saying something.
That says a lot.
When you are a quarterback factory school, that the tight ends are right there, if not greater, as a collective group all time than BYU's wide receivers.
It says a lot about BYU's ability to recruit a certain position.
Absolutely.
Because, let's be honest, a lot of these guys are like possession receivers, if you will. But they went and made a lot of plays. And they were in big games more than that. And Austin Collie was an NFL guy. Cody Hoffman, disappointingly, wasn't much of an NFL guy. I don't think he played in an NFL game on the 53. Maybe he did sparingly.
No, he didn't. He got into the preseason.
Squad and which was a bummer because Cody was like one of the greatest ever. I have number 2. You do too. Drage, not much in the NFL. Phil Odle, a little bit in the NFL, right? BYU hasn't had that guy, unfortunately.
So I was thinking about the apex.
Although Austin would have without the concussions. Like, he was leading the NFL in receiving yards and touchdowns and catches.
He was a
like 6 games in with the Broncos until he got a concussion.
He was a rookie star with Peyton Manning. Went to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. Sorry, with the Colts.
Yeah, so like the apex mountain moment for each of these receivers. Thought, okay, well, for Austin Collie, do you have a singular moment where you think, okay, that was Austin's greatest moment?
Colorado State, one-handed
catch down the sideline.
He falls down.
All right.
Utah State.
Same thing? Same type of deal?
Fends the guy off with the left hand, goes like so many.
Okay. Then Eric Drage, 97-yard catch against Utah for Eric Drage.
Longest pass play in BYU history.
Unforgettable moment.
Yep.
The play we had in the top 100 from Phil Odell was a game winner in a closely contested game.
I don't remember who or
his apex, but I want to say it was like Colorado State or something like that. Anyway, an important game in a WAC championship clinching scenario, like a really, really important game. And then Cody Hoffman, the catch against Georgia Tech, where the defender is just draped on his back and dragging him down, his pass interference, and somehow he catches the ball flying directly over his head, like Willie Mays style, right? Just cradles, the incredible catch. They all have like these unforgettable moments.
Yes.
And I love that's part of the conversation as well. Puka's is obviously going to be the Boise State
Boise
catch.
State, it's his ability to just run the ball on jet sweeps. Just got a text from someone important that said, hey, where's Kaz? Kaz is on the playmaking Mount Rushmore, and he should be honorably mentioned as well.
His moment
he's in the honorable mention
was in the
list
national
for me.
championship game.
Yes.
Catching that pass from Robbie Bosco in the back of the end zone where his teammates joked that Robbie was just throwing it out of bounds and Kozlowski happened to be there and bail him out and catch a touchdown.
No, Kaz is all over this thing. Absolutely.
Yes.
No. He's not in the top 4. But
he's got a case
right
to be like number 5 along with Margin Hooks.
He's right there. Absolutely. Playmaking top 4, Kaz is on that Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who else. Who else would we put on the playmaking?
Because he tried to kiss me on set, I put him down low. he would have been firmly 5th. But now he's 11th. You know, I just wasn't ready for that, I guess.
Okay, another name I do want to mention that maybe kind of glossed over a little bit is Mark Bellini.
I put Mark in my honorable mention.
Yeah, Mark Bellini had a great career.
Let me give you.
He was a touchdown machine.
Let me give you a number here, okay? So I combined what's your rank in catches, yards, touchdowns, and what is that total? Okay, Mark took 6th in that.
Yes.
Okay, he took 6th in that. Incredible. Like Mark might be the most underrated player, receiver.
I was just going to go there.
History.
Maybe most underappreciated receiver.
Because we think of
history.
Matt first. Matt was
a running back who happened to play like split wide receiver. He was kind of like a hybrid running back receiver.
He has like 2,600 receiving yards. You're not a running back.
But he's listed as a running back?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah,
so the Bellini brothers, they're the best brother tandem.
Puka, Samson's like, what about my 1 year and my Utah catch? Although Samson didn't have the numbers, but yeah, I feel you.
All right, time to get to Voice of the Nation. Yes.
Fun
really interesting conversation. And a credit to Puka Nacua for being so good that it takes us there.
Okay, real quick, the same person, I'm not going to say ask Jim McMahon and Mark Wilson. Mike Chronister. Chronister was in consideration here.
Yes.
Yep, Mike Chronister. Jay Miller, 73, was unbelievable. Yep. Just trying to make sure we say everyone's names so no one's mad.
We're talking like individual seasons, like single seasons. Jay Miller,
73. He had 100 catches in 73.
Wild.
Got Gary Scheide the Sammy ball. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. You're welcome, Gary.
And they kept him in the game against UTEP, I think, to get like the catches. Yeah, awesome.
Our question of the day: who's on your Mount Rushmore of BYU receivers? And is Puka Nacua there? At Twiggy or Stone on Twitter answers, that is tough. There have been a lot of great receivers at BYU.
Yep.
Austin Collie has to be one of them. I probably round out my list with Drage, Hoffman, and Matthews. Wow, Mitch Matthews gets some love from Twiggy or Stone.
Mitch is definitely on the honorable mention list.
He's top 10 guy for me, for sure.
He's top 10.
Top 10 guy for me.
His unique frame, obviously. The Nebraska,
his playmaking ability.
Like the Nebraska play, obviously puts him in there with his career. And he scored a ton of touchdowns.
Well, and he was an Aggie killer, too.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of those in BYU history, let's be honest.
Twiggy or Stone says Puka is close, but not quite at that level yet. Honorable mention to Bellini. Which one? Probably Mark?
Both.
Probably Mark?
Both.
I loved watching him play. Hashtag BYUSN to join the conversation.
Okay, tonight we got the final BYU football with Klein Stockcase show, 8:30 Eastern on the BYUtv app. Cougars beat Utah Tech, playing Stanford. Bunch of seniors on set. That'll be fun. Chase Roberts in the film room. Houston Haymuli's Deep Blue.
Up next, former BYU and NFL linebacker, our good friend David Nixon joins us next.
Yeah.
As our defensive guy today. We've talked a lot of wide receivers. Now we're going to talk defense. Is he licking his chops, thinking about what BYU faces in a lackluster Stanford offense? This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Bodyguards. Protection for a life worth living.
When my grandfather started this company in 1947, he couldn't have envisioned what we would ultimately become. We realized that our value to our customers is that we will be there day after day, year after year, doing whatever we need to find solutions to the challenges that they face. We are committed to be honestly better in all that we do, in every opportunity that we have to serve our customers.
BYU Food to Go's convenient location at 2191 North Canyon Road in Provo makes bringing popular BYU foods to your next event easy. Everything's ready when you need it at the drive and load pickup. You drive in and they load no matter the weather. And stop in the on-site creamery for great BYU chocolate milk and ice cream. BYU Food to Go, bringing campus to your table. Call for details, 801-422-5001.
I was 4 years old when I left Zambia. My dad was born in Sheila, in the south of Italy.
My mom is from Slovakia. We haven't really talked about it, never, not once.
My dad doesn't really talk about his life in Serbia. I just really want to know who he is. And then discover who am I.
Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. We are live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. I am Spencer Linton. To my left sits Jarom Jordan. We have moved over to the Cougar Council Room to have our conversation.
Discuss the needs of the ward.
with former NFL and BYU linebacker David Nixon. D-Nix, welcome to the show, man.
It feels good to be here. It feels good to be here. It feels like this might be tithing settlement.
And a few move-ins. Are they taken care of?
We were just talking about the greatest receivers to ever play the game at BYU.
Yeah.
You had the privilege to play alongside closely with one of them in Austin Collie. He's the clear number
greatest.
one. Yeah. The clear
He's
number
the best
one to us.
ever.
What was it like to be Austin Collie's teammate when you're a defender and you know your offense needs to go out and score a touchdown and he and Max Hall and Dennis Pitta take the field?
I'm telling you, I can't tell you how many times there were third downs, 3rd and 5, 6, where typically the coach are yelling, punt alert, like get ready, we're about to have to maybe punt it. And us defense, we just sit there, like, no, we're good, thank you. We know they're gonna get a first down, we'll just keep relaxing. I don't need to exert any energy to get up.
Here's the stiff arm, boom.
I mean, honestly, we had so much confidence in them. And keep in mind, I was coming off John Beck with Johnny Harleen and Austin and the rest of the crew, right, prior. And so for me, it was a lot of confidence and just knowing that those guys just seamlessly carried on what John had kind of started. And Max comes in, picks up right where he left off, and then Austin just balled out and did his thing. And it was awesome. It was fun to watch. I mean, they made some big explosive plays, right? And those guys, you could depend on them to come up with those plays and kind of carry the offense. There were a couple of games where we had some shootouts, and we need the offense to produce. And then, of course, there were some games where as defense we stepped up, and so it was a nice kind of give and take throughout the season. But yeah, Austin was special, and it was fun to see his competitive side as well. We always talk about the competitive side of Max, but Austin's just as competitive.
Yes.
And it was fun to kind of watch them do their thing, along with Dennis Pitta, throw him in the mix. Harvey Younga, running back. And we had
like those guys are
offense.
top 5 at their position probably in BYU history. Max is a fun combo because that's loaded room. But Harvey and Dennis for sure.
And I think that's what was so tough to defend BYU. Okay, so you want to go double team Austin? Great. You got Dennis running up the seam, or you got Harvey coming out of the backfield on an option route. Good luck, right? I mean, you had a one-on-one somewhere, and one of those 3 guys was going to beat you. And sure enough, we did. I mean, nobody could stop him. And then I just spread him out. It was pretty fun to watch. And those guys, they're still studs. You got all of them in the coaching, helping out some way or another because they're carrying on with what they knew. And yeah, absolute studs.
We were talking about Puka Nacua being a top 4 guy in just his playmaking ability because the Mount Rushmore is based largely on career numbers, but Puka Nacua's just downright playmaking ability puts him on that Mount Rushmore.
That's what, yeah, and that's what we were talking about. Like, yeah, he doesn't have the sustained sort of career of just the 2 years, probably, right, and injuries and whatnot. But like, if you need a play,
like game changer.
Yeah.
Glenn Kozlowski, Mitch Matthews, Austin Cody, obviously, like, he's up there.
Oh, I mean, I would put Austin and him 1A and 1B. I mean, as far as playmaking. Yeah, stats, he's obviously not going to have stats.
Yeah.
2 years, right?
Yeah.
But when you talk about needing to play and going up and getting the ball and just dominating, I don't know how you couldn't put it up there in at least the top 2. I mean, I love Cody, I love Mitch. But Puka's ability and the catches he's made this year with the toe tapping, you know, and then one thing we didn't see from all those other receivers was the run game. The way that Puka gets involved in the fly sweep game and the quick bubble screens and the way he's able to turn those into positive gains. And the thing I love about Puka that he doesn't get a lot of credit for is his first contact. When's the last time we saw him come down on first contact?
So physical.
Never?
Every single time he has a spin move where he actually spins back inside, which is pretty dangerous, but shows you how, you know, how much he cares about the game. But the ability for him to spin back inside and pick up an extra 5 yards almost every single time is pretty impressive. And then I think the last part is just the emotional side of it. All those guys we mentioned, Cody maybe kind of quiet, a little more quiet. But when Puka gets up, I mean, you can tell he commands that offense.
He's going to slap you in the head, literally.
He is going gangbusters. I think back to the Utah game whenever he scored or Samson
scores.
He runs off the sideline, and they're jumping up and down. I mean, that is Puka Nacua to a T, the way that he just loves the game. And I'm telling you, stuff like that's infectious. Like that riles up the team, and guys catch on to that, and they want to be at that level. And I'm telling you, it pumps the whole team up. And it's a bummer this year. We didn't get to see him healthy the whole entire year. I think that's the biggest bummer is that, you know, he was injured the first game.
Or last year. He had a hamstring.
Yeah,
the first
this
month.
year the meaningless kind of fly sweep. We're already killing USF and gets, you know, tangled up and then the hamstring. And so it's just, yeah, it's unfortunate. But when he did play, he was unstoppable. Honestly, he was unstoppable.
Special player. Took the first play from scrimmage this season.
Set the tone.
To the house for a touchdown.
That was amazing.
What's the case for Puka Nacua to play one more year at BYU?
It's a tough case because, you know, we talked about in the postgame show. I mean, a lot of these guif you're going to get drafted high, you got to go. You got to get your money. But if you're
Is he going to be drafted high?
And that's the big question. I think that will be the feedback he'll get. I mean, the Boise State game definitely helps his draft stock.
Sure.
What he does against Stanford in a bowl game, if he plays in the bowl game, will obviously help his case.
Got a great film against Baylor from last year.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's got the film on there. And I think for him, the compelling pitch is come back and hopefully play a whole season healthy, right? And play against great competition, where now there's no reason that, you know, the scouts and GMs and stuff can't sit back and say, oh, well, that was against, you know, East Carolina, who's still good. But
this schedule
kind of pick
enough.
apart the schedule.
Was it not? This schedule was good enough.
Yeah, the problem was he wasn't healthy the whole season for that schedule, right? And so next year, that schedule will be obviously top to bottom strong enough that he can stay healthy and put up big numbers. It'll be compelling. But the other part of that is Jaron coming back?
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like they have to be a tandem because if Jaron doesn't come back, should Puka come back, not knowing what the quarterback situation is going to be like?
I would agree. I think they've got to be. If they're not texting or calling each other right now on a daily basis, I'd be shocked, honestly. And maybe they're waiting until after this week.
They might use WhatsApp, like.
Yeah, they might use Telegram or something. But I would say, you know, they might let this week go through and kind of get through the end of the season. I remember that's how it was with me. I kind of didn't want to talk about anything or talk with agents or anything until after the
I remember
the
I
last
kept
game.
pestering you. David, you going pro? What's going on, man?
Yeah, I was wondering.
And you were like, hey, after the season.
After the season, I'm a senior. I have to go. But I would say for them, wait till the Stanford's game over, and then it's full court press, talking with the coaches, talking with each other. Because I agree, if Puka comes back and Jaron's not here to throw to him, and you're having to deal with some new guy who you don't know at this point.
But what if it's P5 awesome guy?
We'll see. We'll see.
Like, I think we ought to show a little bit of confidence that BYU is going to bring in a baller. We've never really had an issue with QB, right? Like at BYU, we're like, that guy is typically going to be really good.
So that brings up the other conversation for this year. For Jaron to leave, if he can leave and get drafted somewhat higher or just get drafted, then at least BYU can say, listen, we got Zach Wilson and Jaron Hall. Any transfer, come here, right? Your pitch is that much stronger because you just look at the recent kind of track record with Zach Wilson, now Jaron Hall. If he leaves,
you even take it back to Taysom Hill, David.
You got Taysom.
Do you know about Taysom? I'm extremely confident BYU is going to have a very good quarterback next year.
Yeah.
I just am. I'm not worried. I'm not worried.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're hearing rumblings. People are reaching out, and there's stuff moving.
If this coach goes to this school, does that player be who knows? There are opportunities. This is QBU more than any other position. Yeah, I'm not that worried. And I just think Puka's gone. Period. I just think he's done what he can do. Yes, he could come back and try and play through that.
But I mean, he's been in school for a long time. You want to be done? I don't want to do homework anymore.
Not everyone loves school, by the way.
Football.
Yeah, I didn't love school. I enjoyed going to BYU and going to classes, but I didn't enjoy the homework. I came to learn how to broadcast, and once I graduated, I just broadcast. No one's asked for my GPA. No one's questioned my what degree I've had in anything. You know what I mean? There's certain fields where it's just whatever.
All right, we need to ask you about Stanford. It's guaranteed that we will see Jaron Hall and Puka Nacua and the BYU offense play against Stanford. What do you expect from BYU against a Cardinal team that beat Notre Dame this year, by the way, in South Bend, but has been just on this descent down into the basement of college football? So what do you expect?
Listen, if there's anything I can expect from BYU playing another opponent, is that other opponent is somehow going to rise to the occasion. It's all out against BYU. It just somehow happens every single time. Listen, I think this is a BYU team that obviously has some defensive issues. They made some adjustments. I feel like they really have gotten better every week with those adjustments that have been made. But keep in mind with the defense as well, this is a defense that's been struggling with injuries. And you've had guys that have been coming and going. And now with Peyton Wilgart pretty much being out, a lot of these guys have realized this is my starting role. And
Max not listed in the 2 deep this week either.
Max has been banged up. He hasn't played for quite some time. And so I think a lot of these guys have gotten those game reps and know that this is my spot. They're not wondering, hey, if Max's game time decision, is he going to come back or not? Am I going to start or not? It's pretty much definitive at this point, right? And so I think that helps some of these younger guys, and some of these guys have tried to fill those spots. Get ready. Offensively, we're seeing them there. I think Jaron's shoulder every week gets healthier and healthier. I think this last week at Utah Tech, he made some throws that he hasn't made in quite some time.
Some great throws.
And so I think that's helping. So I think everything's trending in the right direction. But that being said, they're still a P5 school. It's at their house. It's their last game of the year. That's an emotional game.
This is a neutral site game, let's be honest. Thanksgiving weekend at Stanford.
Okay, well, we usually see what the crowd is.
Senior night for Stanford.
Yeah, I mean, there's some emotional things in play for Stanford, and for BYU. Can they put it together? It's actually an intriguing game. Yes, BYU on paper should go there and blow them out. But when you add all the emotion, I mean, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, BYU by a touchdown is what I think would be fair.
8-point favorite, I think I saw. Yeah. 8-point favorite one.
Listen, for BYU this year, that's a blowout. I'll take 8-point favorites.
Are we going to be that picky? They won't either. They won 2 FBS games by 3 points.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, and you look at them. You look Stanford offensively. They're only putting up 360 yards a game.
No, that's bad.
They're one of the worst in the country in running the ball. They're averaging like 116 yards on the ground.
Toby Gerhardt isn't walking through that door.
No,
or Christian McCaffrey for that matter.
Yeah,
I wanted to go deeper, but yeah, light running back.
It will be interesting to see how BYU comes out. It's an interesting game. I think for BYU, this is a monumental game in the fact that build on something for this season. Obviously, this season's been a little bit of a letdown, but
get to 8.
You get to 8, you salvage something, and you get some momentum going into next year. That's the biggest thing. You've got to win this one. You've got to win the bowl game and have some type of momentum to build upon as you head into a pretty important key off season with so many moving parts with guys transferring in or out. Yes. You've got to get ready for the new conference. I mean, there's a lot. This next offseason is going to be super busy. I mean, we'll see with the coaching, what happens there.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of changes, I think, around here. And I think having at least some stability of, hey, we went out, we struggled, we did well early, we had a lull, and we finished strong. I think that will be huge for this program.
Great stuff with David Nixon. If BYU beats Stanford, they guarantee a winning season. How about that?
Do it.
Guarantee it regardless of what happens in the bowl game.
Yeah, that's right, because you can still have a losing one.
More David coming up tonight.
Geez. Yeah. Let's go. After further reviews of the Utah Tech game. David blew all of his good answers right here. He's going to have his secondary answers coming up later at 7 Eastern on the BYUtv app.
Up next, will Jamal Williams be able to do something on a football field that hasn't happened since 2002? We'll discuss. It's been 20 years. There's BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
If you're looking to build your brand awareness and increase market share as BYU moves into the Big 12, this is the place, BYU Athletics. We can provide the tools you need to make sure your company is seen and heard. BYU Athletics is where you can align your products and services with loyal fans that cheer for our Cougars. And they can also help your business win. Learn more about what a partnership with BYU Athletics and your company will look like. After all, this is the place. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
Dexter & Dexter is a full-service law firm offering a wide range of legal services. Since 1995, we have helped more than 20,000 Utahns both to navigate life's challenges and to make the most of life's opportunities. From auto accidents to criminal defense, and from bankruptcy to family law, we are passionate about shouldering your burdens. To learn more about scheduling a no-obligation consultation, visit dexterlaw.com.
There's one thing having a magic well full of wishes has taught me. It's that there are many kinds of magic.
We're most granting wishes!
I'm supposed to be scaring you, not becoming your friend.
You've more determination than anyone I know.
That's what's important. Family.
Make sure you follow the program on social media. It's called BYU Sports Nation, right here. Not Sports Nation, that's ESPN. But anyway, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, we're on there.
Here's Jarom. I am Spencer. Let's whip it. Cougar Whip Round presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
In his press conference yesterday, Jets coach Robert Saleh said the following. He said they're going to have to evaluate game tape from yesterday. We'll keep everything on the table in regards to the starting quarterback will be on Sunday, not committing to Zach Wilson. Do you expect Zach Wilson to start versus the Bears?
Yes, because even though Robert Saleh said that, I think he's monitoring everything closely and how the team is responding, and Quinnen Williams and some other key defenders went up to the podium and defended Zach Wilson and said, we know what work he's put in his heart. We're going to rally around him. Excuse me, I think when all the dust settles, when the dust settles, Robert Saleh will give Zach Wilson another shot against the Chicago Bears.
I think he'll start as well, but what we didn't hear was those who aren't rallying around him based on those comments.
Sure, his wide receivers are frustrated.
It's tough. They're not going to give them the mic, right? So he's got some damage control to do in that locker room because that comment Sunday didn't go well.
No, and the body language on the field from his wide receivers and some of the other offensive players while these things are happening, not great. Zach has to be a leader. He's got to go talk to these guys, which I'm sure he is doing in the locker room, to try and win them back for at least one more game, but I think he's going to start against the Bears. All right, Jamal Williams. On the other end of the NFL spectrum, he's having a Pro Bowl-type season, Jarom. He's asking fans to vote for him to go to the NFL Pro Bowl. Will he be the first offensive player out of BYU to get to the Pro Bowl since Chad Lewis did it back in 2002?
It's got to be one of the top three in the NFC. Hopefully. I'm not sure. I hope his touchdown total gets him there. Hopefully he keeps it going. I don't think he's one of the top three running backs in the NFC right now. But his touchdown total is awesome, and he's been amazing. Hopefully it will. Maybe someone doesn't want to go, he gets that extra spot or something, but Jamal's playing like a top 10 running back in terms of the ability to finish at the goal line, maybe even top 3, you would argue, right? So I'm not sure he's going to make it to the Pro Bowl, but that would be really cool.
I'd like to see his numbers in yards per game climb up a little closer to the century mark. He's at 67 yards a game. If he can push that up towards 80 and continue like this touchdown streak, then yeah,
then perhaps the touchdowns make him,
get him into
and his personality maybe gets him over the hump there, right?
Without question. In a lot of ways, it's a popularity contest, and he is at the top of the charts in the popularity contest.
I'm not sure if there's a fan base that knows how to sort of jimmer a poll and maybe help with that or anything. If we find them, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Women's volleyball has a 28-match WCC home win streak dating back to 2019. San Diego, the last team to beat BYU at home. Will BYU pull off the upset tonight against number 2 San Diego?
Oh, boy. I want so badly to say yes, that this streak will continue. Like, San Diego has come in before as a number 2 team into the Smithfield House, but haven't really been the number 2 team. This is at the end of the season. The Toreros are legit. They deserve the number 2 ranking. I think it's too much to ask BYU to expect them to win at home. So I don't think so. I think San Diego's going to end BYU's home streak. As much as I hate saying that, they are so good. They could win the national championship, Jarom.
Last Thursday, San Diego went to 5 with LMU and was down, multiple sets and 9-6 in the 5th. Perhaps there's some vulnerability BYU can exploit that LMU did on Thursday.
I hope.
And somehow pull that off, because I think BYU's ability to host the first and second round are contingent on tonight's result.
100%.
I'm not sure BYU hosts without a win tonight. And they haven't been on the road for the first and second rounds outside of the COVID-21 spring since 2014. Now, that year they did make a run to the national title game, but I don't think this roster is like that roster. It's certainly a good to very good BYU team. It's not one of those great BYU women's volleyball teams, though. If they win tonight, however, maybe they take a step in a direction that we haven't seen quite yet, because they played a really tough schedule this year.
They're lacking the signature win.
They've beaten Pepperdine and LMU on the twice each. Awesome. But beating San Diego would be something incredibly amazing.
That would be the signature win for sure. Here's what I don't like. San Diego may have woken up after the scare against LMU.
Perhaps.
I don't like that.
Hopefully it was a vulnerability.
Saudi Arabia upsets Argentina this morning in the World Cup.
Great goal by the Saudis.
Crazy.
Jeez.
Crazy upset. What's the BYU equivalent of the Saudi Arabians beating Argentina?
Ranked 51st in the world. Argentina had won like 36 games in a row. I don't know, like if the 2017 team beats Alabama.
Like in football.
I'm talking football. Like that was, I don't know. No, I don't know. The 2019 team beating Alabama.
No, I'm going to go to the same year. BYU men's basketball going to the Kennel in Spokane and beating the #1 ranked undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs, who went on to play in a national championship game. That BYU team was one and done in the NIT.
Bad BYU.
No business winning. Period against Gonzaga, let alone at the Kennel on their senior night and spoiling their undefeated season. Like, that's the equivalent of the Saudis beating Argentina.
That was amazing. And the Saudis deserved it, dude. It wasn't lucky.
No,
they won that game.
They won that game.
Women's basketball returns home to host Carroll College tomorrow, 4 Eastern on the BYUtv app.
Up next, a couple of national champions in the house. BYU men's soccer represented by Ben Fankhauser and Tice Call.
Yeah!
Got that national championship swag in Studio B next. How'd they get it done? We'll discuss next on BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
Introducing the truck for adventure. The all-new 2022 Nissan Frontier doesn't compromise on power or comfort. This midsize truck was redesigned to incorporate the latest technology and designs for safety, comfort, and convenience. Plus, with up to 6,700 pounds of towing capacity and best-in-class horsepower, it's rugged enough for adventure and still safe enough to transport all your favorite people. Where's your new Frontier? You'll find it at Tim Dowling Nissan Southtown and South Jordan.
Utah is a special place. Our communities, the people, the history. There is no place quite like Utah. At Siegfried and Jensen, we're honored to say that we are from Utah. We live here, work here, and when someone is injured, we're proud to say we've helped a neighbor when they've needed it most. We know Utah. At Siegfried and Jensen, we're here for you.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com.
Trio Orem Senior Living believes in empowering seniors to live life to the fullest. We help eliminate stress out of daily life when you live at Trio. Less time focusing on housework means you can socialize at one of our many events, with safety in mind, of course. And did we mention our spacious apartments with modern amenities? Learn more about setting up a private tour at trioorem.com.
Let's kick off AFR on BYUtv.
What they did in that fourth quarter was not unexpected in my book.
Everyone did their job perfectly, and it resulted in, obviously, a touchdown.
Who knew that he had these kind of hands?
And right at the snap of the football, they both go right downhill. And that was the end of that. He knocked him down pretty quickly.
Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation live from Studio B. We're back in the Cougar Council room to hang out with a couple of national champions representing BYU men's soccer.
Yeah.
We gave them the karma. They took it. They beat the Gophers. They took care of business and brought back an 11th or maybe 12th national championship. Have we decided on
what is it, guys?
What it is?
How many do you have?
We haven't. You'll have to check. You'll have to check for us.
It's a lot. We'll just leave it at that, right? Double digits.
Chris Watkins was a player in the 90s on the first team, by the way, in 93.
Wow. Now
That's how far back it goes.
Coaching the Gonzaga women now. He was at BYU with Jen Rockwood forever. How about that? Well, it's Ben Fankhauser and Tice Call with us. Congratulations. You know, all joking aside, incredible run that your team had this year. Ben, let's start with you. What did it mean to win another national championship?
Well, that's me. Well, it just meant the world to me. It was good to go out in a bang. This is my senior season, so I came back to play with my little brother, really. So it was really fun to share that moment with him and share the moment with the guys. They're the best.
Okay, let's talk about the final. So you've already played 5 games in like 2.5 days. It's just crazy. Then you get to play Minnesota, and they score 45 seconds in. What's the mindset at that point, Tice? You're down in the national championship game early.
It was a new feeling. I mean, we'd only been down in my career minimal, I don't know, twice. And to be down in the first
2 games? Period?
Since I've been playing at BYU, yeah.
Okay.
And
wow.
To just kind of have to reset, because at that point you're almost starting the game down 1-0 in the national championship game. It wasn't like any of our previous games where we were winning 3, 4, 5, 6-0. But I mean, we just had to trust in ourselves, had to trust in the guys, had to trust in our coaches as well. And we knew that we had enough time to get 1 goal. And I knew as soon as we got 1 goal, we were going to get 2.
Okay, when was the tying goal? When did that happen?
That was like 10 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, okay, 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
Eric Morris, who had an incredible free kick in this tournament as well that we saw. He was fantastic. From you, Ben. Walk us through this one.
Yep.
Okay.
So what'd you see?
Well, we had Penny come down the line. And it was kind of funny. Our coach was talking to him afterwards, and he was like, why is our center back running all the way down the line, just like kind of grumbling? And then he was like, I'm glad you guys don't listen to me.
That's what our producer says as well.
But played it across. I had a good touch and popped it over one guy's leg, and then just played it back post and hoped Eric was there, and he was. So.
Okay, 8 minutes later. It's tied 1-1. 2 minutes left. Tice, you're getting a smile on your face.
Yeah, are you feeling pressure at this moment?
You two connect, right, for the game winner. Okay, walk us through, Tice, what you saw and the ball that you got from Ben here for the game winner.
So I actually didn't see it clearly because it was from a corner kick. It went through 3 different people. And then it just kind of popped to me. I knew I had to get to it first. I was inside the box, and at that point, just put it on frame, and I knew it was going to go in.
Just a rocket off your right foot.
And Ben, this was all by design, to find Tice across the middle of the face of the 18.
It wasn't to find Tice, but I was playing it low. I meant to hit the first person, went through him, went through the second, and then couldn't have landed at a better person's foot. So.
Wow, I'll say.
And that wins the national title, baby.
Okay, Tice, you're a Midwest guy. You're from Indiana.
Yeah.
So to beat a team like Minnesota, does that carry some added weight?
It's fun. It's fun because all my life I've found myself rooting for the Big Ten teams.
Sure.
And the Big Ten had 5, 6 teams in the national tournament. And, I mean, we had to go through a couple of them to get to the championship. So it just kind of felt right. And it kind of felt like it was that time to kind of leave the Big Ten behind from my childhood and then say, okay, no, this is BYU. Let me go do it. This is where I'm at now. This is where my heart is. And so it was a little extra special to put Minnesota away like that.
Rutgers, Ohio State were part of your path, I'm trying to remember. Yeah? Okay, awesome. Okay, so how tired were you guys after that? Because it's 6 games in 3 days. Are you like 22 deep, or are you like, nope, everybody, the starters, same starters every game? How is it, Ben?
We generally start the game with the starters and then pull them out as we go. But everyone's putting their 100% effort on the field every time they're in. So after each game, you're sore, you got knocks, get kicked in the leg and the ankle. And so you're doing ice baths, you're doing compression boots, you're taking a nap, and you're exhausted the entire week.
I'm sure.
Anybody go 540?
I don't think so.
Also, okay, I was going to say, that's crazy if you do.
All 540 minutes?
All 540 minutes, no way.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Was there ever panic or frustration that was setting in during the national championship game? Because clearly you feel like we're the better team, and we're just not having the breakthrough. So what kind of mentality are you taking into the 80th minute when you're still trailing? Like, is there panic there?
Yeah, there's a little bit of panic, a lot of weight on your shoulders because, you know, we're expected to win. We're the defending national champion, two-time defending national champions. But luckily our coaches prepared us for this. Like, during the whole last week of practice, we were always two teams against each other. It was, you're down a goal, down a man. You're down 2 goals. How are you going to get back into the game? And that's how we practice. We practice like we played, and it showed, and it paid off in the tournament, in the final.
And same question for you, Tice. Like, are you nervous in that moment?
I think we had encouraging moments during the game where we knew one was coming. And it was slow. It wasn't right away. It took us a while to bounce back after they scored on us. But I know that I hit the crossbar on a similar shot to the one that I was able to finish later in the game. We had a free kick that hit the crossbar. So there were those little small victories that were like, okay, it's coming. Just keep playing. Just keep fighting. And at that point, my body's numb. Adrenaline's kicked in. I can't really feel anything. All I'm thinking about is, let me play with my guys. Let's just get one chance. And it just kind of came chance after chance, and we knew one was going to go in, and it did. But it is a marathon, and it did take a lot of patience. But exactly to what Ben said, like, we worked on that for the full last week, maybe even 2 weeks before that moment came, and so we knew what to do.
Ah, incredible stuff. National champions once again. Now it's just a matter of figuring out what you're going to do next. Win another national championship? Hey, why not?
There you go.
Tice Call, Ben Fankhauser, thanks for coming in and hanging out with us on BYU Sports Nation.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
That's awesome, man. Okay, let BYU basketball and Greg Bell take you to the Bahamas tomorrow afternoon, 4 Eastern on BYU Radio as the Cougars take on USC.
And up next, the top 5 home games for BYU football in the independence era. It's winding down as they push on to Stanford. This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork offers a large inventory of Ford vehicles, including a selection of cars and trucks, providing a range of transportation choices. From the Ford Fusion sedan and the Edge crossover SUV to a range of pickups including the F-150. Each product line comes with options to enhance performance, comfort, and safety. Think Ford, think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
Hey family, if you're looking for something new to watch, stop scrolling and start streaming. BYUtv has a ton of great options to binge together. From bold adventure to family drama and even a little fun, there's something for everyone. Binge entire series, experience all the feels, immerse in non-stop intrigue, and treat yourself to unexpected turns. Think you know BYUtv? We're just getting started.
Can you do something for me? Become the sort of girl that Mallory Towers can be proud of.
Something must be wrong. You need to get help. You did it! No, we did it.
Thank you all, and for making me proud to call you Mallory Towers girls.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
Programs on demand. Download the free BYUtv and BYU Radio apps and subscribe, rate, and review.
It is Top 5 Tuesday, and we have focused in on the top 5 home games for BYU football in the 12 seasons of independence. Because it's final now. No more home games in independence. Big 12 home games next year. Let's start us off number 5, Jarom.
BYU beats number 9 Baylor 26-20 in double OT. This season, BYU's first top 10 win at home since Miami 1990, I believe just 2 all-time. 5th top 10 win in program history. By the way, 2 of those have happened in the Satake era. And who can forget Chase Roberts to Jaron Hall for the touchdown. Chase Roberts more passing touchdowns than any backup BYU quarterback. Crazy.
Number 4, cycle back to 2015 following the Hail Mary against Nebraska. BYU upsets number 20 Boise State 35-24. The Cougars improved to 2-0. Tanner Mangum over 300 yards, 172 of those going to Mitchell Juergens, who had, of course, the Starman moment. 2 touchdown catches, and then Kai Nakua sealing the deal with just an explosive Lavelle Edwards Stadium going bonkers.
He sealed the deal. Number 3, USC in 2019. Zach Wilson was fantastic in this game. Threw for 280 yards, managed the game well. This game went to, Dax Milne, young Dax Milne. This game went to overtime where the Cougars made a field goal. Then Dayan Nwoluku ends up getting an interception, and BYU ends up winning the game. USC ties it late, and then OT. BYU gets field goal, then this pick by Dayan, and boom goes the dynamite.
To number 2, Taysom over Texas. The Cougars hosting the 15th-ranked Longhorns. Taysom Hill ran for 259 yards in this game. 3 touchdowns. Yeah, it was a horns down moment for Texas in Provo.
Just going for his ankles, just jumping. Pull the CK.
40-21, BYU routing Texas that night.
And number 1, top dog goes to BYU's streak-snapping win against Utah last year. BYU never trailed in this game. Jaron Hall threw for 3 touchdowns, including that one to Neil Pau. This one to Samson Nakua right before the half. Defense forced 2 turnovers. BYU beat number 21 Utah 26-17 the day after accepting the Big 12 invite.
Oh, a rapture moment.
Let's go.
Our question of the day, who's on your Mount Rushmore of BYU receivers, and is Puka Nacua on that list? Our elite voice of the day, presented by PAX, Healthcare Elevated. And it goes to Kevin Riedler on Facebook, who says, Austin Collie, Cody Hoffman, Gordon Hudson, yes, a tight end, and Puka.
If we're doing straight, like who's receiving, then yeah, sure.
Wow, some love for Puka there. Okay, today's Rise and Shout Out presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
Heather Knighting and the seniors. We don't know who's coming back besides Heather, but this is their final home match.
Thanks to all of today's guests.
Sorry, Dennis, no time.
For Jarom Jordan, I am Spencer Linton. Shout out to Chris Watkins once again. We'll see you on After Further Review, and for BYU football with head coach Kalani Sitake tonight, a double feature on the BYUtv app. Go Cougs.
Mike Chronister!